Dude, I think I played the wrong video.
Dude, it was a short one, right?
I think I just played the outro for the intro.
Well, we're in now. We're in. That's what counts.
Man, talk about bombing it. I got to relabel these things. I put them right next to each other,
Yeah,
and then I labeled it wrong, and I guess I read intro as outro. Whatever. You know what? The
we're
music
in.
got played. That's what matters.
That's right.
The flavor is flowing. Here we go. It's
Give me
game
that.
time.
Give
The
me that
show's-
sweet bass.
That's right.
Slap that
Well,
bass.
welcome to the HVAC Grapevine Show, where we don't pay that close attention to our controls.
That's right.
All right. So, today's date, October 13th, 2024. And tonight we're going to be talking about determining hourly rates for the family owned small business. This should pertain to nearly almost everyone in HVAC,
Yeah, it's gonna be a good show.
right? Or at least like I would say a good 75% of companies. Or at least that's the way I perceive it. I have no statistical data on this. Just, to put it out there, if you're listening to this, you don't know who we are and you're thinking, wow, man, he's slinging facts. I have no facts. This is just an opinion. And my opinion is I think that most HVAC companies are small family owned businesses. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
Seems that way.
we'll get the AI on it later.
I know we do need to get the yeah. There's got to be a tool for this,
Yeah,
right?
we
So,
get,
Mike-
get like one more screen and just have like AI chime in whenever he or she wants.
So, before we get into the show tonight, tell me, man. You went through a hurricane,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Right? How was that? How was that?
I'm exhausted, man.
Yeah.
You're looking at the only guy that I know of that measured the flow on a hurricane with a flow hood.
Yeah.
Very
I
proud
got
of
the
it.
I got the pressure of a house on a hurricane. So
Yeah.
you've got the flow. I've got the pressure, man. We're pressure and flow hurricane.
Pressure and
house
flow.
hunters. House hunters. Love it.
Thunder and lightning.
Yeah, we should get us a truck and go into like hurricane hunting. You know what
That's
I mean?
it. With all HVAC tools,
We could have a movie or something like it's like the second movie Twister just came out. Maybe we could be Twister 3. The thing.
Dude, it was crazy, man. I was like, I'm out there. We started getting some strong gusts, so I don't know. I was like, let me go grab the older. I didn't want to get my Alnor out there, man, because that thing would just like blow away and that'd be
It lands in somebody's yard and they're like,
Bro,
what is
yeah.
that for? What whose
What
kid
is-
toy is this?
It looks like it's like a balloon project or something. It's big and blue. But yeah, I grabbed the CPS. It's
A
short,
Chinese balloon, man.
Yeah. They shot it down.
Yeah.
It's all weather engineering. But
so taking all that fun information, let's segue. Let's bring in our guests to get this party started because I think this one's going to run deep.
yeah,
I think we're going to help some people with this one. So I'm pretty happy about this show. So first person I want to bring on real quick is a blast from the past, Mr. Eric Kaiser himself.
Woo! My man.
Making a cameo. Making a
evening.
cameo.
Good evening. Good
I mean,
morning.
you could
Good
at least
afternoon.
you could have brought us a news skit, bro.
Oh,
Sorry, man.
I'm just
Hang on.
teasing.
I miss those. Yeah.
There you go. All right,
Dude.
so Eric, you're bringing a guest with us, and you've invited him to the show. So we can have
Actually,
some
that
fun.
was the other way around. He was the one that suggested this.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Sweet. So let's bring him on.
Clearly,
And
Michael does not read the comments to his posts.
No, I do not.
All right, so let's
Calling
let's
you
get
out, bro.
let's get everybody in here and get this party started. Mr. Luke Peterson.
Hey.
Mr. Luke. What's up, buddy?
Cool hands, Luke.
Cool hand, Luke.
Never heard that before.
So, Luke, for those out there who are
Start with
watching the
Jedi
show,
reference.
Luke, tell the people who don't know of you what they should know about you. won't-
In general, I'm a closet HVAC nerd and a contractor in Louisville, Kentucky.
He's Luke freaking Peterson.
Started the company probably 2018 full time. I did stuff I wasn't supposed to do on the side for quite a while prior, but then became legit in 2018.
Yeah.
So started in the commercial refrigeration world and worked out into the HVAC.
Yeah, because I see online you do a lot of residential now, right?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, we
You
still
know,
do. The majority of what we do is still commercial, about 60% commercial and 40%. I would say between 40 and 30%. And then we do some general, not HVAC stuff here and there.
nice. So, Luke, how many technicians work with you?
Right
And,
now, I've
plus
got
apprentices, like full staff.
so as far as journeyman technicians go, I've got 3 journeyman technicians, and then I've got currently 3 or 2 apprentices, and then 1 helper, and then I
Okay.
have an office guy.
That's a pretty decent size HVAC company right there.
Yeah.
You can handle up on quite a bit of work with that staff. You can.
Yeah, there's a learning curve there that I'm learning, and let's just
Oh,
say it's progressing
Yeah.
every
always,
day.
always learning, man.
So, you know, I know Eric, you've kind of prepared us some commentary for this show. So I guess we're kind of not going to play a game, but we're going to kind of play the whole like, Eric, you're going to lead Luke. Luke, you've agreed to be the person who's like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Eric, you're going to be playing the guy who's going to like try to orchestrate how you should structure your small business, I guess. I'm here for commentary, and Mike is our village idiot. I'm just saying.
That's it.
I thought Luke reserved the position of village idiot before this. I'm pretty sure he called dibs on that.
Well, Mike likes the village idiot position.
So
Well,
this
I'll,
kind
I'll
of
step
started-
out of the village idiot role, and if you guys mentioned some stats in the intro, and so while you guys are talking, I googled it real quick.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
And if
cool.
you want it,
a
so
man
here's
with
some.
Google fingers. I love it.
Yeah, so I'm just going to read this. Most HVAC contractors are family-run businesses or sole proprietorships. HVAC contractors often have a lean governance structure and centered around owner and a few key players. In 2023, there was about 145,000 HVAC companies in the United States. The states with the most HVAC contractors are California, Florida, and Texas. About 20% of HVAC contractors fail each year, and 70% of new HVAC businesses fail their first year.
Wow.
The average gross profit margin for HVAC businesses is between 30 and 40%. And the U.S. HVAC systems market size is estimated at a $30.4 billion in 2023.
So, Chris, you were pretty head on with that, man. A lot
Yeah.
of family-owned businesses. Wow.
Yep.
I heard it through the grapevine, man. That's pretty close.
It just, I mean, honestly, we know a lot of people in HVAC, right? We do. I mean, we don't know all the players, but we know enough to where we know the feeling of the owners, of who they are, and there is some private equity money out there that's kind of scooping up some companies, but
Dude, you ain't kidding with that, man.
Like,
that's getting weird.
That's definitely happening. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's super, super, super big just yet, right? Like, there's still a lot of family-owned businesses. I don't think that's going to change either. And I think there's just my opinion, and I only say this because my dad told me in his time he watched this play out once before, where private equity came into the space, bought companies, and then it lasted for a little while, and then it kind of fizzled out. And then what happens is the people who work for those private equity companies, they don't like all the structure, so then they end up breaking away, and some of the better mechanics will leave and then go up in their own businesses, and the cycle starts again. And so I look for that to kind of happen. I'm not saying private equity is going to fail. I just think that,
It's like a season.
We've all been in a business. Well, not all of us, I guess, but you hear a lot of people who go work for a business. They get bought out by a big company. They don't like all the new changes that are going on, and you leave. I mean, that's understandable for some people.
Yeah,
Well, I
a
mean,
lot of
I think
corporations.
it's, everything has cycles, and I think this industry is no different from any other industry in that it's cyclical. Things change, things go up and down, things
Yeah.
become in fad or in vogue, and everybody kind of goes that way, and then everybody's like, we're gonna go try something else.
Yeah.
So the one constant that we have is change, and I think that's about the only thing that we
Yeah.
can say is constant is change, because it's gonna be different.
I will say, I hear rumors, but it does seem like private equity this go around, and I'm not sure if this is from back in the day was played the same way, but I've heard like there's big banks that are tied into this private equity move this time. Like not naming any bank names, but like the banks are kind of playing this game as well.
So, are we here to talk about private equity?
No,
Steer the ship.
That of it. Steer the boat, baby. Steer the boat.
Somebody's got to steer this
I get
boat.
3 or 4 emails every week about private equity. So I mean,
Yeah, same here, man. Yeah, it's weird. It's strange.
I'll switch gears for you. This is a question to Luke Peterson, and this may get us down the road we want to go. Luke, when you opened up your business within the first 6 months, did you stop and say, "This is how much money our company should gross out at the end of the year"? Did you set a target?
no.
Okay.
I started my company from the viewpoint of an employee, which means I wanted to know how much I needed to keep my bills flowing, keep my home lights on. I didn't even think about the profitability of a company until, somebody basically said, "Hey, you have to think about the profitability of your company."
Yeah.
So I was just figuring like, okay, this is what I need to make. This is what I'm making at my current job. I should probably be asking for at least double that for my customers in order to pay my bills. It was very, very myopic.
So I think a lot of company owners look at it that way. I was definitely one who did the same thing. And I'll tell you, we were probably in 7 years deep, running on rules of thumb that we had learned from working from other people. So our numbers were pretty okay and in check, but like we didn't know why they were okay and in check, and we didn't know what we should do to adjust those numbers. And I've always been someone who likes to brainstorm, throw new ideas against the wall. So I didn't go like read this and learn it from anybody, but then I kind of learned that there's variations of people doing this. But I remember going in the office and me and my dad, like we were kind of slower. And I learned at this point, I set a target on the board and I said, let's just stop for a second, break down this company by numbers. And so like I went in and I said, how much money would we like to gross throughout the year? And we set that number on the board. And I'm trying to remember because this was years ago, like many years ago. And I said, okay, well, how many people do we employ as technicians? And then, I kind of just broke it out and I said, at the end of the day, it was how much would we have to charge per hour to be able to reach that goal that we set for ourselves? And is that reasonable to ask that of the team to hit that target? Right. And that's where I think we're trying to get to is, and one thing I learned in business is if you're going to be in business, you should have a target. This is how much money I'd like to make by the end of the year. That is a very, very good thing to do. Because without that target, you're waking up every day saying, we're making more money today. Why? What's our goal?
It's good to let the technicians know too. Gives them a sense of scope,
So this process we're going to walk through tonight, Luke and I got to talking about this, and I started sharing the process that I used when I started my business. Now I was doing more testing and not selling products,
right?
But I was selling testing services, things like that, which an HVAC company sells services every day. Doing a little bit more consulting work, but we started talking about this process, and he's like, we got to share that because this process was my way of backing into that number you just talked about, Chris. Like, how much do we need to charge in order to be profitable?
Okay.
And to do that, you've got to ask yourself some questions. You got to answer some things. it's no different than going in and troubleshooting a unit. You got to have information before you can figure out what's going on. It's not a TXV on every unit.
So what were you guys doing? You guys were just chit-chatting about business, and then this came up, and
Yeah.
it just boom.
Yeah.
We made a
And
show.
then you asked a question, what do you guys want to see for a live show? And Luke commented, and I was like, hey, sounds like fun to me.
Yeah.
All right.
One of the things that I've been asked to do.
Uh-oh, we lost your microphone.
Uh-oh. You pulled a cord out.
Hello. Hello.
You did something. You got a loose connection there somewhere, Luke.
Okay.
We can hear you. It's just really quiet.
Yeah, it's real low.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Where was I?
That sounds good. That sounds good. You were giving us your social security number and
Credit card number.
the routing number to the bank.
3 QRP. Okay. I got asked to by somebody. Actually, it was Eric on one of the Facebook groups. Or he connected me with somebody in my area to go look to see about some indoor air quality issues. And one of the issues, or one of the things that I planned for when I went out there was, okay, how much time is this going to take? What kind of testing am I going to do? What am I going to be offering the customer? And, like, how do I charge for something that's not essentially equipment replacement or a repair of some sort? And like, how much do I charge to have a conversation and give somebody my expertise on a particular subject regarding their home? And that's what sparked it. And then he started saying other things about starting a business. And then I started thinking, I never even considered those. I just kind of did what I wanted and kind of hopes it shakes out in the end.
Right?
Can I just say something I want to enhance what you just said right there. Probably one of the biggest problems we have in HVAC is typically the guy who works for the company or the owner who is the super knowledgeable person who can go in and solve most problems gives his time away for free way too often. And a lot of times it's because it's consulting and it's leading up to selling the job. And sometimes it sells the job, sometimes it doesn't sell the job, but there's a lot of times that time is just given away for free. And if you want to do that, nothing wrong with it. If you're hitting your margins, that's fine if that's how you run your business. But I have definitely been guilty of going in and giving somebody 2, maybe 3 hours of my time consulting them about their home with their problem, and then it turns into new revenue. Now, this person just got 3 hours of many, many years of HVAC knowledge for free, right? That I drove to handle.
Whoa. No. You don't give that away for free. You're going to build that into your hourly rate because you got to get paid for that somehow.
Well, right. What I'm saying is I gave it away for free and I didn't charge for it. And
but you only get paid if you sell them something.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that the person who is typically selling a lot of the jobs, maybe it's the owner, there's this whole give and take that we think we have to do to be able to get the install out of the job or the big ticket item or whatever it's going to be. So you give all those hours away. And I think this is one we should take away from the bigger companies who are really working on their logistics. They don't go out there and spin the wheel for hours without billing it in somewhere.
That is true. Yeah. That's one thing a small business has versus a big company.
I want to talk about that a little bit as we walk through this. So should we jump into this?
Do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's pop this up here. So just to introduce everybody, this is a super simple spreadsheet. I'm using Apple Numbers. You can use Google Sheets. You can use Microsoft Excel, whatever. If you don't know how to use a spreadsheet program, I think this is a great exercise for somebody that's maybe even just starting out in the business and doesn't know what to charge or doesn't have any clue how to get to that number. Like, you might just look around and see what everybody else is charging, but how do you know that that's a good number? How do you know that they're not shorting themselves?
Eric, could you I'm going to be real granular here. When you say get to that number, get to what number?
Get to what you should be charging.
Okay, so job cost.
essentially. And
Okay.
what this process is going to work through is going to put the money that the company needs to make, the money you need to make to pay the bills, everything's going to be put into an hourly rate. And I did that because when I was running my business, I was doing a lot of consulting work. I was doing testing work on houses. I wasn't selling products. And I know a lot of companies do product markup, and that takes, so you can figure this out, but you may need to shift some of that over if you want to make money on markup on equipment or parts or whatever you're going to make markup on. Now, my perspective on this might be a little skewed, but I do see a lot of comments out there from people that I really respect about how companies are so skewed towards selling things.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I see that is because we're putting markup on equipment.
Right.
And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that if you want to put markup on it, but that does make an incentive to sell equipment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would think there's a majority of HVAC companies are making their money through product sales. 100%.
I think we're probably right, but let's walk through this and see what comes out the backside.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm liking
Right.
this. This is good stuff.
All right. So the first question that I asked myself, how many hours per week, and this extrapolates out to month and year. You can do it if you'd figure 40 hours a week, that's 2,080 hours a year.
Yeah, but minus 40 hours, like vacation and,
That
all
we're
that.
gonna get to that. That's all part of this.
All right.
100% part of this. And so I'm gonna back in. I'm gonna start here and say, Luke, how many hours a week are you willing to work in your business?
All of them.
All of them. So you're not even gonna sleep. But
Well, sometimes I have to because my wife says I get too crabby.
I mean, I like that answer, man.
yeah, but
I tend to work on, it's between 40 and 60 depending on the week.
okay, that's what you're working. How many do you want to work? And I totally get that 40 to 60. A lot of times business owners I see work probably way more than they want to. And then
Right.
talk about how rough it is later because they don't have time to spend with their families.
Yeah.
40, 60 is not bad, Luke. I mean, in all honesty, if you're maintaining a workload where you're working 40 to 60 and no more than that, you're keeping it in check. Like I'm
Yeah.
proud of you, bro. Like you're not like burning the midnight oil every night, doing 80, 100-hour weeks. I know quite a people who do that. And if you're doing 40 to 60, that means you're coming in a little bit before your guys, maybe staying a little bit after they've left just to make sure the paperwork's in order. That's those kind of things come with the territory until you start bringing on office staff. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's where you're at. I'm just saying mentally you're just putting in the extra few hours to make sure that jobs are streamlined and ready to go for the next day, which makes you more profitable. And 40 to 60 sounds pretty right to me.
Okay. So let's just throw that in there and say 50 hours a week.
I was going to say 50 hours a week sounds
Okay.
perfect.
We're going to say
because-
50 hours a week. And that's going to be, so we're just going to go per weekly here. And this is a really cool thing in a spreadsheet. If you hit equals, it brings up this, and we're going to say that times, whoops, I did that wrong. 52 for 52 weeks in a year. Okay. Now this comes down to,
Whoa, now, do you want to work 52 weeks a year, Luke?
just hold on,
Yeah.
because that's where a lot of these other,
I'm
notice
not
these other
working, I am.
lines down here. This comes out of it.
Okay.
Okay. We got to have a starting point,
Right.
Yep.
and then we're going to take stuff back out of it. And we're going to end up down here at our estimated number of billable hours.
Gotcha. So we could put in like 2-hour lunches and stuff.
You put in whatever you want.
Nice.
You need 2 hours lunch to take care
So-
of personal stuff, then
All I'm
I
doing
feel
is
a lot.
showing a process here. These aren't
Yeah.
numbers that everybody has to follow.
I have
Right.
a quick
Just a
question.
process.
Are the 50 hours that he's working, are they billable or not billable hours?
That's how many hours he wants to work
Not
in the
billable.
business. Just
Got it.
keep on. Those are just hours. That's
Got
a
it.
block.
Okay.
Follow the
Yeah.
process.
You go,
Okay.
Eric.
Now we're
Rifle
going to
it
do
down.
this. We're going to do this divided by 12. Okay. That's going to be our total average monthly hours. And we're going to go over here and we're going to shut down. We're going to go down to 0 decimals there just to make that look
Mhm.
nicer. All right.
Nice.
Easy enough so far. Okay.
I like it.
Now, how many hours a year or days per year? Because we're probably going to do this in days per year, because you're talking about, if you're talking about 50 hours a week, that's on a normal week. If you're only working Monday through Friday, we figure out how to break this out. All
Right.
But vacation time, sick time, maybe build in a little, because this is where you get your pay back here. Okay. Sick time, jury time, volunteer time, all of that stuff. Let's put that in one bucket here. How many days per year do you think you need that?
I would say a minimum of 5, and probably I would say 7 is probably your.
7 days per year?
Are you including vacation in that? I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah. Vacation,
Oh.
all time off.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would do 3 weeks.
So 3 weeks. So you're going to say 10 days or 15 days. And that's at 10
For
hours.
starting out, yes.
So that's going to be 15 times 10. That's 150 hours. Sound right?
Little week vacation
right.
with the family, stuff like
Okay.
that.
So we're going to say minus 150. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing here. Whoops. No, that's a year. That's a year. Never mind. My bad. We need to take that and put that over here. All right. So this is going to be this divided by 2. If I did that right, yes. And this one is going to be
Luke, you get off 3 hours a week.
divided by 12. All right.
That's your PTO, man. You're building up your PTO every week.
Easy enough. Okay. Now, how many hours a year are you going to have? This is just, I'm just saying single person company here, right? How many hours a year are you going to be in training? That's continuing education, whether it be business training, technical training, whatever else. How many
days is the
how many
symposium?
days do you think you should
Well,
allocate
the
towards
Kentucky
that?
State minimum is 6 hours, so
So
that's-
figure
that's
that's going to be
minimum.
a day. That's going to kill a day right there.
yeah, it's a minimum in most states is going to be a day, and I would say depending on the state, it may be to 1 to 3 days, and then if you elect certain things,
Yes, because you need to take other classes at your distributors. You need to
Right.
take classes, licensing minimum, I think is not nearly enough. Like, do you want to budget a full week, 5 days a year or 10 days a year for you to be in continuing education?
I think it needs
well,
more
for
than that.
our company where we're at. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Luke.
Oh, I was going to say for our company, I figure 2 weeks a year per employee.
Okay, so 100 hours a year.
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to make the comment that training hours are probably the single most overlooked item that should be structured in the business model. And I've
Oh.
definitely been guilty of that.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
tend to
And
agree with that.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
So I mean
And-
that comes out to 8 hours a month. So like 1 day a month in training.
Yeah, it's usually divided up between segments, but
Yeah.
because I
Now-
do a lot of in-house training, but then
Oh,
So-
nice.
Like for instance, how many hours a week are you doing training just in house? On average.
it's sporadic. It's not a regular thing, but
Like as
like
needed or
usually-
something.
Usually in the spring, we'll have a couple days where we go through basic air conditioner stuff, kind of like, okay, gentlemen, this is a football kind of explanation, and then
But you're-
usually we're gonna about
Yeah.
to do one for the fall here.
it's a I would say this, we always did it when we're filling our downtime. So it's not like you got jobs waiting and you're training because you don't have
Right.
you have all these jobs. You don't put your jobs on hold. So when you don't have jobs, you switch over to training.
But you still have to be able to pay for that time.
For sure. So,
That's
it's,
why it all goes into this.
yeah.
Right.
It gets hairy between training and other unbillable, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, other unbillable is when, like, if this is a single person business, right?
Mhm.
You got a lot of other stuff to do, like you were talking about. You're going out and you're talking to a homeowner or whatever for 2-3 hours to sell them a job.
Yeah.
That's unbillable hours.
Right.
Sometimes.
Well, so okay, so that's where you
Tried
got to make a
sending
decision.
invoices to customers for their training, and they didn't want to pay them. It was
That-
really rude.
That's where you have to make a decision about how you're going to run your company. How are you going to structure your company?
The way we did it is if I would go out, let's just say I go to a homeowner and I spend 2 hours communicating a new install or whatever. And I don't know, let's just say I do a load calc for free, block load or something. If we got the project, then we would roll those 2 hours into the cost of the project. So they were then part of the, of course, that's going to come out in the wash as either bill to the job or unbillable time. But we
Right.
would bill it to the job because it was literally spent on the job. And
So
I've
you're
talked
billing
about,
that to the job, but
Yeah.
what was your closing rate?
I don't know. We didn't run KPIs or anything like that on that.
So let's say your closing rate's 50%.
What's a KPI for the people in the back, Chris?
It's a key performance indicator. So like if you're running like a Service Titan software or something like that, you can set up metrics that can, you gotta really build out a software that can manage watching data points. And so if you have, let's just say, a salesman who's classified as a salesman, you issue him a job from the software, and then there's literally a go or no go that happens from every job. And then you could run the KPI to see if this guy what's his closing percentage based on all of the jobs you've pushed him to go run through. And that would just be one KPI.
So
There's KPIs you can run for everything. It gets
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
but here's the thing. Like that's just a useful number to know to me because 50% of that time you're not getting paid for, which means you can't bill for it if you're not closing them.
Right.
Yes.
So you've got to make that money up somehow.
Mhm.
Right? So you got to build that in. House in the comments, right? I mean, he owns a nice business. He's saying 30% unbillable. Because
30%,
like you were
yeah.
talking about getting jobs ready, getting all this stuff ready.
So-
How do you build that in?
Here's what I can tell you, and I've statistically broke this out of our company a couple times just to see how, because my brother was the bookkeeper and he was super picky. I mean, he broke every invoice down to the
Right.
damn copper fitting, right? What copper fitting did you use? And I'm like, bruh, who cares, right? But that's who he was. And so I could tell you for the mechanic that is in the field in our company, they were literally billed out to a job 16 to 1700 hours a year out of their 2080. So I think that's a little more than most, but some people and that really boils down to about 5 or 6 hours billable a day. Some people will tell you you're lucky if you get 4. You should try to hit 4. I disagree with that. I think you should try to shoot for 6, and if you get 5, you should be okay with it. But 6 would be very happy with, and 2 you may not get. If you can average 6, you're killing it, in my
So
opinion.
right. So here's you got to pick a number here, right? So Luke, how many unbillable hours you think you're going to have, maybe in a month or a week or in a year average? Again, this is purely an exercise. We're not shooting for dead on accurate numbers here, but it's something that we got to think about.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I think, and it's causing me to want to actually put some measure to this so I can know for sure. But I think we're probably in the 20 to 40% unbillable a lot of the time. And
Okay.
because part of that is if we do a residential change out or if we're working on this larger project, the job costing is a bit ambiguous to say.
And does this slot include like callbacks and stuff
Eric,
like that?
Yep.
Eric, I would put 40%.
Okay. So 40%.
100%. Yeah.
So now, and I got another question for you on that, Chris, and that was actually going to be another one of my questions that I asked Luke about is how many billable hours do you have per person in your company, not per technician? Because the technicians aren't the only people you're paying.
Right. Yeah.
So, got your what and like you're talking that 16 to 1700. Are they only working 40 hours a week or are they putting in 50 hours a week?
Whoa, say that one more time.
You said 16 to 1700 out of 2080. Does that mean they're only working 40 hours a week or are they putting in that 50 hours a week that we just dropped in the spreadsheet here? Because that changes your billable hours ratio.
They're working 40 hours a week.
Okay. So 40 hours a week.
Yeah, that's what we were. We were very, we were a 40-hour week company. We were structured that way. And then we charged time and a half for overtime. We didn't play a game where it's like we flat rated a pay and then you just work yourself until the changeout's over, go home, and you get a flat rate for that job. We didn't do that. We paid hourly pay, and then we paid time and a half after 8.
That's how ours is structured as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the legal way you have to structure it, isn't it?
Not it depends on the contract of how you hire, and it depends on the state. So each state is going to have their own labor laws that you have to go by. But
yeah, this
kind of federal labor laws that you have to obey.
Dude, I live in the Peninsula of Pain, Eric. I mean, I work commission. Like if I'd work all day, make like $40.
Let's just say there's we would need a whole nother show for that. And I'll be straight up. I'm not knowledgeable enough to know the legalities.
This discussion.
I don't know the legalities of how to pay people. I do know if you pay them hourly and time and a half after 8, you're pulling a safe move. Yeah. There's other ways to pay. I've heard of them all, different ways to do it, but I was never going to go there because I didn't understand it well enough. And then you're bringing in your CPA saying, is this okay? And he's got to go do research to see if it's okay.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff, man. But yeah, let's finish up this spreadsheet. Let's move it along.
Okay. Yeah, because we got a lot more questions to ask.
That's right.
All right. So what that came out to is essentially 50% billable time.
It's probably right.
Right? By the time you take all this other stuff off, we're talking about 25 hours a week is your estimated billable time.
Okay.
Or 1,310 hours a year.
Is this still the one-man shop? Or would you say
this is one-man shop.
To translate?
And I really think that this is going to translate across companies. I don't know this for sure, but I think if you figure it out, not per technician, because when you get into larger companies, you start to silo people more, where a one-man company is doing everything.
Right.
And with, the larger companies, you got to pay office staff. So you have to take your total number of billable hours and then divide that by the number of employees, not the number of technicians.
I just want
like
to
like a warehouse guy is not making money for the company.
Not directly. They're not.
Warehouse
they're
guy
not
is going to be like a secretary. Exactly.
They're making money for the company, but they're not considered billable.
They're not considered billable. Right.
Right.
Yep.
If you look at it on a financial sheet, it's considered overhead. But I mean, technically, they're making money for the company because they're allowing that technician to be more efficient.
True. True. Yeah. Absolutely.
So
it makes the whole operation work better. Yeah. What a warehouse guy.
But that's where you get people that are in silos more. Like that warehouse guy, he's focusing on the warehouse. So the technician doesn't have to focus on the warehouse and their truck and the job and everything else.
Yeah. I like how corporations do it. They make the warehouse guy do like 3 other jobs. So, you get to squeeze all that juice out of one person. It's nice.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you might gain a little bit, but I don't know for sure.
So I want to make a comment here. 1310. Whenever we kind of threw that out there, we all kind of went quiet, and it kind of gives you that gut feeling of like, oh crap, that's not very good. But 1310 out of 260 is billable half the time.
Yeah.
Meaning for everybody working, if they're working 10-hour days, 5 hours out of that day is billable. And going back to what I was saying earlier, some companies say you should bill minimum 4 hours a day out of that 8. If you can do that, you're doing okay. So 1310's not bad. It's really not that bad.
So explain that to me. Like, make that rubber meet the road. Like
travel time. So you employ somebody, you put them on the road. They get in their truck in the morning. What do? They drive to the job.
Right.
They get to the job. They have to go get a part. The way you're structured is not billable for going to get that part. I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe they're at this call and the only call you got later that day is 45 minutes away where you're not going to maybe bill all the travel time.
Right.
Maybe that happens twice in a day. Things like that leads to a guy who's not going to bill 8 hours to 2 different customers that day. Lost time, right?
Gotcha.
It's unbillable time. So they say that 4 to 5 hours is like the industry standard for that.
Okay.
So if it is, that's exactly what we just saw is half billable time for the day.
So now let's step into the dollars, because now we got to figure out what's going to go out. Before we can figure out what we need to bring in, we got to figure out we got to estimate what's going to go out.
Man, that's a long math problem right there.
Not really. It's actually pretty easy. You got to break it down. Take it little steps, right? Little bite-sized steps.
Yeah.
That's what I started doing here. This is why I line itemed out all this stuff out. So
yeah.
Again,
Yeah, my bank, I have it just send me a check once a week from the business, and that's it.
I aligned this
income.
out. I lined this out, this process kind of for me as a one person show. And this first thing I said was, how much do I want to make? And that's got to include taxes. It's got to include healthcare. It's got to include retirement, right? All that stuff got to be included.
I'm glad you put that first, because I know people who run a business and they run a small business and they might say, man, my business makes $500,000 a year. Let's say they gross $500,000 a year. Okay. And that's the only statement I hear. And then I want to say, okay, well, what's the net profit of that business? And then how much do you pay yourself out of that? Because although let's just say the net profit, let's say you make $100,000. Okay. Well, if you're also considering that your income, and let's say your income should probably be $100,000 for running a business, then what does the business make for profit? And that is way two totally separate things.
Right.
The business has to make money and you have to make money. And a good structured business, you will separate those, which is what you have done. Income for you. That's very important.
Cool.
Yep.
Typically, when you're a sole proprietorship, your business income is your income. It's just when you start adding other people and growth and, anticipation for more employees, that's when you want to start separating.
You can.
I want to throw something at you. From a tax perspective, you're correct. But you still want to keep separate bank accounts. This was what a lawyer and an accountant both told me. keep separate bank accounts, make sure you're keeping things separate because
Sure. Yeah.
you know, you want to separate those. And I still wanted to have some money sitting in my business account. Even though I got taxed on that personally, I still wanted to have some money sitting in my business account to pay business expenses.
It really boils down to how the business is structured.
Right. And that's
Because if you
know,
have an issue where
correct.
like someone taps you, let's say you get sued, whatever, if you're paying yourself appropriately in a right structure, your money is your money.
They're going to
can't wipe
sue the
business clean.
corporation. They're not going to sue you personally.
Yeah. So you get to keep your income that you've worked hard to keep.
Right. Right.
Sorry.
So,
I know we're spending too much time on one topic.
Yeah.
But
So throw a number out here, including right that the taxes, the healthcare, the retirement, all that stuff. How much money do you want to throw into that bucket for a year?
750,000.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, what do you think, Luke?
Well, I think a safe number for any entrepreneur should be $100,000. Otherwise, there's no point. You should go work for somebody else. The risk isn't there.
So
the risk is good.
including taxes, including healthcare. Now, keep in mind, as a single proprietor, you're going to pay both halves of like FICA and all that stuff, or the Social Security. So we'll go for $100,000. We'll put that in there.
You got to remember, Eric, this business could have just started up. So I get what you're saying, but you may have to run lean and pay all that. Like $100,000 might be a safe move first year out, just to play it safe.
I mean, are you talking total revenue, or are you talking about cash in pocket for the guy?
This is for the person. This is going to pay their salary. This is going to be their tax, because if it's sole proprietorship, everything that comes in gets taxed, right? So you're probably going to pay
33%.
I was going to say somewhere in the neighborhood of 30% because of the way that you have to pay it, because of you're paying all the taxes yourself instead of the business paying some and the personal paying some. You're probably going to want to throw some in a retirement account, right? Because
10%,
maybe, yeah. I mean, 10% ish of that. But we'll throw that in there just for great. It's a great number to throw in, right? So we're going to say
you're basically going to at $100,000 retirement out, taxes out, you're basically going to clear roughly about $60,000 a year take home pay.
No cash side jobs, Luke. Okay, we'll keep that out of here.
Yeah, don't put that in the bank, and don't take a check from anyone and go cash it. and don't give them a receipt either.
Hey, if I have to start doing side jobs for my own business, that's
Don't tell the boss.
The thing you got to remember about that, is if you're a sole proprietor, everything essentially comes out of your pocket, but it doesn't really. So how much are we going to pay for a vehicle? Now, when I say a vehicle, that's the
work
vehicle
truck
payment. Yeah, this is your work truck. This is your company truck, right? You're going to pay for personal vehicle out of that income for you up here. Yeah, got it, Hausch. Thanks. Appreciate that. I need to do that. You the man. Work vehicle.
You should figure just for the vehicle in this day and age, it's going to have any life left in it, probably $15,000 to $25,000, and that's going to be like a Ford.
I'm talking a vehicle. I'm talking all the outfitting on the inside of it, and I'm talking the lettering on the outside of it. $45,000.
Everything. So yeah, 40, I was gonna say. I mean, if you're buying new, you're probably gonna spend 35. You're gonna spend another 10 rigging it out.
Here's the thing,
and that's just basics.
Whether you buy new or not to start off with, budget like you're buying new, because someday you're probably going to want to. And if you've got a used van, you're going to have to pay for the repairs on that, which are probably, from everything I've talked to people, are going to be close to equal to a price of a new one anyways.
We could do a whole show on that, right?
That's a whole other story.
I think the going rate right now to do it is $40,000. Okay,
we'll throw $40,000.
I think I could pull it off for $40,000. Now I'm not going to go buy the nicest, most awesomest vehicle, but I guarantee I could probably acquire a van through like a dealer rebate program, maybe something like that, maybe secondhand that's really nice, 20, 30,000 miles. I think I could ladder rack it out, bins, get the basic big tools on the truck for probably 40 grand.
Okay.
I would do
Sounds
like
good.
a used funeral home and then switch it out, like kind of like Ghostbusters.
What about training? You know, we talked about training time, but how many dollars are you going to put into training for travel to training? Training fees, like say if you go to, you know, like the symposium or NCI training or something like that, those are going to have fees associated with it. How much do you want to put in that bucket per year?
Man, that's a tough question when
And
you're
and don't
small.
forget, it's the one guy company, chucking a truck.
Yeah, if it's a one guy company, that's a lot easier. I mean, you're going to figure probably $1,000 for a hotel room for a multi-night
Right.
event like NCI training or the symposium or something along
So
that. So it's,
hotel
say,
room,
$1,000.
travel, you know, flights, meals.
$350 a day. That's I've ran spreadsheets
Oh.
on this. $350 a day is
This
what
guy's
it'll
running
cost.
spreadsheets.
Okay.
Unbelievable.
It'll run you about $350 a day to be out of town.
Bam.
I've got data on that.
So we'll say about 1,500. Well, we'll say 1,500. How about that?
Let's do it.
That'd be a nice number. What Chris said, if you figure you're 4 days out a year, because we put 5 days into our training bucket over here on hours, right?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially.
Yep.
So $1,500, and that's your training fees. Now that was travel costs. That doesn't include class costs. So let's put 2,000 in there.
Free.
3.
Free.
Oh, free, he said.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's it cost to go to an NCI class today, Luke. I haven't been to one.
It's about $1,000 a person.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
We better
depends
put-
on the class. Yeah.
We better
Yeah.
put 2,500 in there then. Whoops. All right. How much you going to pay for vehicle insurance per year for that work truck that we just bought up there?
Way too much. It's ridiculous. I'm spending somewhere around the neighborhood of about $500 a month.
Shoosh.
Okay.
But we've got-
Per
I've got
vehicle.
full collision on them. What's that?
Per vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll put
I
500 a
spent
month.
$23,000 in 2023 for auto on my commercial vehicles.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what about business insurance? Liability.
Most states
all
are
that
going to
kind of-
require a minimum of 1,000. So you're going to spend. I had my sheet up here. Just give me 1 second here.
Now keep in mind,
Oh,
you know,
wait,
this
you
is
know
like
what?
for a single person. So, you know, we can
Yeah.
throw a number in there. I think
I think if I'm not mistaken, my general liability was around 2,500 for the year when I first started out.
Mhm.
But I
So it's
mean,
probably
that was 8 years ago.
3,500 now.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
25 is
I think
good
you put
because
$5,000 in there, you'd probably be safe.
Okay. How about a phone?
It's different.
you still got a Nextel? What do you got?
It's a Motorola Nokia brick phone.
Yeah.
I've got a. I mean, you should probably figure at least $150 a month for a phone with a good data plan.
Yeah,
and
that sounds fair.
an iPad
Okay.
with mobile
So-
and stuff on that.
Ooh, iPad
Right.
with the Wi-Fi, with the Measure Quick. Nice.
Right. So then you got to have that. Do you want to have a business phone number if you're going to plan on growing bigger? Do you want to have a set business phone number in addition to a cell phone?
Some mobile carriers will allow you to have 2 numbers and a business number if you have a business account, a business wireless account, which we do.
Cool.
Those,
Yeah.
You're going to probably spend 30 to 50% more for that, but it's worth
Yeah.
it starting out. I started out with the Google Voice number,
Mhm.
and that worked out great.
Nice. What the heck is that?
We can get into that later.
Okay.
Look it up.
Google Voice.
Google it. Google it.
Google.
You'll find a-
Let's
What's your
plow,
voice?
guys. Let's plow.
Yeah, let's
Keep
bang
going.
through this.
how about internet? Because you got to have internet to run a business in today's world.
$100 a month.
$100 a month. Whoops, not 400. I'm fat fingering things here. Big old fingers. How about an email account?
It's typically covered with web hosting and stuff like that.
Okay, so that'd be
It's
more covered
probably
under your
gonna be-
website and stuff down here. So,
Gotcha.
Eric, move those to the monthly column.
oh, right. Thank you.
Think house.
Yep. Glad somebody's paying attention. Good job, House.
Your wife says 500 goes in the month column too.
Yeah, got it.
This is a live show, everybody. All right.
Yep, that's right. That's what happens.
This is why we hire
Super
professional
polished.
accountants.
Website. What are you looking for? Website.
So, what are you paying for a website with web hosting and all that stuff a year?
We're paying $500 a year for web hosting. Our website cost, I think 25. No, it's $5,000. $5,000 to get our website.
Just to start out
Made.
with, that's a startup cost,
Yeah.
right? So that's
You can
That's
get
a
a cheap
one-time-
website.
Yeah.
You can get a cheap website for $200. You can get a decent, just a landing page for around 1,500. So those
So-
would be good numbers.
probably say, but I'm saying, what's your recurring cost on that? Like that's startup costs.
I'd put $300 a month. I'm sorry,
300?
300. 300. Say 350 a year for maintenance costs on your website.
That would probably be accurate.
and that
for a
includes your
one-time job.
hosting, your email, and everything
Right.
per year.
Minor changes,
All right. Now, what about business software, load calculation software? A Microsoft subscription if you use that or whatever.
Quick
No,
model, writes off.
You can easily do $1,000 a month, because if you're going to do anything like House Call Pro up to, we use Payzerware, Service Titan's ridiculous, but that's not for a one-man shop.
Yeah, it's not for a one man shop. Yeah.
But,
So-
like House Call Pro is $150 a month.
So you can figure 1,000 a year on that, right? Okay.
I would, yeah.
Yep.
How about tools? Okay, you got to buy tools. We got to maintain tools. We got to replace them if they break. How much a year are you going to spend on that? And this is hand tools all the way up to test instruments, combustion analyzers, true flow grids, flow hoods.
5,000 a year.
I think that's a little low.
Yeah.
I'd say 5,000 a year for one guy replacing and maintaining.
Yeah.
Assuming he has all his fundamentals right out the gate, right? Like basics. Like he's got his tools. He goes
Again,
into
there's
business.
startup costs.
Yeah, this isn't startup costs. 5,000 would just be
Startup costs kind of comes down here in the bottom.
yeah.
Because you're gonna
Okay.
you might take that loan out, and we could add in like a loan payment here.
Uncle Tony's loan payment.
You're running out of time, Eric. You better quit adding things.
Well, All right, how about association fees?
I don't pay any.
Don't pay any? Okay.
Well, I
But
guess
say
that's-
like
yeah.
NCI or ACCA or
That's
a local HVAC.
The Irish Fishermen's Organization,
$200 a year.
200
Yeah.
RSCS.
I wish it were that little.
How about licensing?
$300 a year.
Yeah, scoot that,
Okay.
right? No?
No,
you're
Mike, he said
you're getting-
$1,000
okay.
a month.
You're getting off cheap, bro.
Sheesh.
$300,000 in licensing fees a year. Whew. We paid
Okay.
Louisiana's backwards. We paid bukus of license fees.
Wow.
Again, this is why you got to know your local market. You
Right?
got to know what your
Yeah.
costs are.
It's different everywhere, man.
Like most of Indiana, we pay no licensing fees because we don't have any.
We had a
So-
state mechanical license, but then every town would have to make you buy their own individual town license too.
Yeah, that's how it is here, too. It's messed up.
So
We were probably in freaking 35 towns.
yeah.
That's
Unless you're in
crazy.
Indianapolis or a couple other big metropolitans, then they have licensing in those towns. But the
Unreal.
state has nothing. All right, how about your accountant? How much you going to pay your accountant per year?
I pay them about $750 a month, but they do all my bookkeeping as well.
How about for like a one-person shop?
Yeah, starting
Uh,
off.
I mean, I wish I could remember what I paid. Like
maybe 1,000 a year,
400. I don't know.
They're 500 a year.
They're going to do your bill pay too. It's going to be more. So if you're going to do accountant, you might just do $750 for a year, and all they're doing is filing tax.
Yep. And if they do your billing and everything, and you pay more, sometimes you get a nice break on that from your health insurance side of things because they can roll you up underneath them. That's a cool caveat that in some states they allow that.
Yeah,
just food for thought.
All right, how about your building? Because you're going to probably have some kind of a building or a space that you're going to pay for to run your business out of.
$1,200.
Most guys are going to start out in their garage, so I'm going to put a big fat goose egg for that one because I'm still working out of my garage.
Okay, so you're not paying yourself even for your garage to rent your garage to your business?
Get a little tax break. That's about
robbing Peter to pay Peter.
Okay. But like I said, this is things you got to think of. So if you're going to grow, you probably ought to build that into your price.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, 500 to 1,500 would probably be a reasonable 2,500 square foot.
Yeah, $1,000 a month would be a fair value.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Again, we're just going to throw a number in there. We're throwing numbers in there. This is all about the exercise. It's not about the absolute numbers being right here.
Yep.
Now, how much? To me, if you're a single person, like this is kind of my business money. I'm putting aside business savings in case that engine blows up in my truck. Right? I got to pay for all that kind of stuff.
Are you also looking at this as profit, like business savings? Meaning
that's kind of what I put it in when I did mine. Is like that's my business profit. Of course, I get taxed on that as personally because I had a single member LLC, but that way I've got that money sitting there. Something fails.
Right.
I'm keeping that separate from my personal money. Right. So that I can say that that's business money versus personal money.
See, I wouldn't have that as a line item for myself. I would have that be at the end of this spreadsheet. That's where my business profit would be. And then I would adjust things to make the business profit fall out right, based on my billable hours, my markup, and all of that.
This is one way of doing it, Chris. Like there's a lot of different ways to shake this tree out, but in the end, you're still going to make about the same amount of money.
Yeah, it's just one way to do it.
I did it this way because it was simple.
Yeah.
So I've never done it this way, so I wouldn't know what to write down for my business savings. But I guess if it was my business profit, I would go back to look at my total billable hours from my gross revenue target. And you're
starting up. You have no idea what that is.
No, but you have to set a target.
That's what I'm saying.
So
how much a year do you want to stick in business savings to cover stuff?
All right.
Or grow your business later?
Scoot back over to that spreadsheet for a second. All right. We're at 50. Let's just say we're at 2,600 hours. What's our billable rate for the?
We don't know yet. We haven't got there.
All right. Let's put something in there real quick then.
That's part of this exercise. We're going to get there.
We're at the 10-yard line. 10-yard line.
Because you can't figure out what your billable rate is until you figure out what you're going to spend.
I want to make 15% off my gross. So
15%. So throw a dollar number at that.
Well, that's why I was trying to get to a billable rate, so I could give you that number. So if I'm a mechanic and I'm working all year long, I'm probably going to bill out. If I'm working solo, I'm more than likely billing somewhere around $380,000 gross revenue a year. Okay. Now I'm working my tail off, which we're doing at 50 hours a week. And let's say we're putting a lot of hours, no dead time. $380,000 billable gross times, 30%. I'm sorry, 15% times 0.15. I'm going to make, that didn't come out right. 380 times 0.15. $57,000 is what I'd like to see the business earn out by itself without paying me my salary.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, keep in mind that that's all tax stuff, and you talk to your accountant about how to do all that. Okay.
Right.
Now, you're probably going to have some kind of a startup loan, whether you loan yourself, loan your business money, you're going to bring that money back to yourself at some point, or
Call it
whether you
seed
get
money.
it from a bank. Yeah, some kind of seed money, right? And you're probably going to have to pay that back to someone. So how much are you going to make that per month, per year? What do you think?
I started with about, I think it was about $7,500 in my bank. I didn't take any money from anybody, but I did finance my first truck. So I suppose you could put 7,500 plus 12 grand for the truck at the time would be a reasonable startup money that you should probably pay back.
Okay, and how long do you want to pay that back for? So that's going to be.
I think any small
20,000
loan like that should be 2 years minimum, or 2 years maximum.
Can I make a recommendation there? And this is just me giving some advice. If I'm going into business, you know how
how much are you going to pay a month?
I'm going to start paying $100 a month.
Okay.
But after the first year, I'm going to increase it, and I'm going to keep increasing it as the business grows. That's what I was getting at. But I'd start small because I need to keep it lean.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah, whatever you can finance the max out to, that's what your monthly payment will be. But then make strides as you can.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I do it. I mean, there's not a formula that I follow. It's just I don't want to pay interest.
Okay.
Interest is dumb.
So if we take all those numbers that we added up, right, 243,300, I'm going to throw another table down here. All right. This is the cool thing about Apple numbers is I get to do all this kind of stuff. All right. So
how much you want to bet we get really close to 380,000? I'm sorry.
We playing darts.
We're gonna do billable hours.
Oh, what do we got?
So this should be your total annual income. All right.
$300 a labor hour. That's my dart. That's my dart target throw right there. Anybody want to bet? Anybody want to take bets? Do we need to get a board started?
There you go. Okay.
So
and that brings it out to $186 an hour.
Wow, look at that.
All right. Now, everybody's going to be different.
Yeah.
What I wanted to show is just that exercise of figuring this out.
Can I ask a question, Eric? Did you add in the pay for the person who's working for the company?
Yeah.
Or where like the 100, like if he wants to make 100,000, is that in there?
That's right here. That's
okay.
all total.
Gotcha.
This column is totaled up right here. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
And tickets because he's driving so fast each service call.
That's
because
covered
I'm screwing around so much. I'm not actually killing anybody.
Trying to be like Johnny Supertech with that spaceship.
That's covered under the 55 grand down here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not bad. That's really lower than I thought it was going to come in. Obviously, I was
186. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was shooting in my brain for more like 300, but yeah, 186. That's doable for sure.
I came to roughly the same number.
No kidding.
Yes, and because our residential rate that we put in for flat rate is I think 178.
Oh, cool.
We came in. I think we arrived roughly in the same town, but I came in from a different city.
So.
And you work your flat rate like that?
So
Mhm.
here's what I'd like to do, guys. I know we're way over on time, so here I'd like to do final thoughts, and I'll kick the first final thought off on this, and then we'll go down the line. One thing to remember here is if you're at 186 an hour, that doesn't mean that it all has to be coming from the labor hour, meaning like how you make that money, right?
100%. Yeah.
You could sell product. Not saying go out and sell product to make it, but that it's if you're short on hours but you're selling more product that has profit, then the money's coming in. You could
Mhm.
make it up in labor hours, you could make it up in product sales. It's just that is money that's got to come in some
Yeah.
kind of way.
And
To be
the thing
sustained.
is, if you're making profit on those goods, then you're incentivized to sell the goods.
Right. I just don't want somebody to take that labor hour and assign it to the job with product that's then marked up, which you can do to a certain extent, but you have to find that fine line between, okay, if I'm charging this labor hour, now how much markup do I want to apply? Or do I
Right.
want to reduce the labor hour and put more markup? How do you want to shake out the sale is up to you, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And that's something you got to figure out. That's each company's going to do different. I've seen some companies that they don't charge markup on anything. Parts, nothing. Equipment,
Mhm.
nothing. 100% of that comes from labor. And I've seen others that have really low labor rates, but they make their money over here on a lot of their money comes from equipment sales or parts sales or whatever else.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. Wow. That's
So
interesting.
you can balance that from one side to the other, but regardless, you still got to bring in some money to make a
Right.
profit.
And that's why 70% of the businesses fail within the first year. Thanks, Google. And
Right.
Luke.
Mike, final thoughts.
I love it, man. This is great. I mean, guys need to know that rate. I mean, what he pulled up on Google, that's scary, man. And
Yeah.
a lot of guys that do businesses that are HVAC guys, they're mechanics. You know, they're not business. A lot of them aren't business. Some of them are. You know, you get the rare ones like you get like Tersh, man. He could do like a whole business like mobile. He could do one all. You know, it's pretty cool. So, what do you got, Eric?
I mean, I think this is something that anybody that's going to go into business for themselves the first time really needs to sit down and give some thought to.
Yeah.
Like, seriously give it some thought. Don't base your labor hours or your hourly rate on just whatever your old company charged or whatever the company down the street is charging, because
Oops.
how do you know how they arrived at that?
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know, you never know if that business is successful or not. It may look
Right.
like they have a warehouse and it's everything's going really
Yeah,
good,
dude.
but you don't know if they're struggling or not. So
Good point,
you
man.
yeah.
You have no idea what those books look like on the backside.
Good
And
point.
Talk to your accountant, talk to your lawyer, talk to your accountant, have good ones of both to talk to set all this up right and make sure that you're laying all this out right from the start to be able to track all these numbers, because tracking this stuff to me makes a big difference on whether or not whether or not you can run your business well.
All right.
Yeah.
Luke Peterson, man of the hour. Final thoughts.
I guess my best advice to anybody wanting to start their own company would be figure out what kind of business you want to run. If you want to run service yourself or if you want to manage people, because there's a distinct difference between running your own company with you and your own stuff versus you buying all this stuff for other people and you're sending them out into your community. I mean, managing versus fixing they're two different animals. And
Big time.
from the financial side of it, you really need to sit down with somebody very knowledgeable. If you don't know how to do it, that's either been in the industry, either in a different market, or a mentor in your community that understands the numbers. Do it. Don't do what I did, because I basically just priced myself based on what my competitors and my former employer was doing. and it leads to blindness, and you don't want to be blind in the business. You got to
Yeah.
know what your target is so you can hit it.
This is really good stuff for the guys in the grapevine. I mean, this is going to help out a lot of people.
Yep. All right. Thanks, guys. It's another good one for the books, literally.
Thanks for having me.